It's time once again for a Robot Wars Series 2 review. And after Heat D, I was certainly interested to see what Robot Wars was going to have on offer. I mean, it was going to be hard to follow up 2 future legends of Robot Wars in there, but I knew that there was still a possibility of some exciting action. So, was I right? Was I wrong? Let's find out. Craig starts us off talking about how times have changed. Back in the day, Tamagotchi sounded more like an illness, but now is the time of Robot Wars. And I know what you mean, Craig. I mean, even now, Tamagotchis have even changed from this to... well, other stuff has happened in the past 25 years. Anyway, let's look at the Contenders. Spin Doctor, despite what that name would suggest to me, is actually a robot with a snowplow to round with and a chainsaw. I guess that's where the spin comes in? It's a little odd looking, honestly, weighing in at 66.6 kilograms. Ooh, it certainly is strange. Next up is Pain, and I can't lie, as boxy as the robot is, this thing does charm me somewhat. Weighing in at 80.9 kilograms though, you'd think you would have more than a piston spike to offer. Kilotron returns from Series 1, at this time with the only major change being going from pink to orange, and apparently even that was a mistake, so it's just Kilotron from Series 1. At least, from what I can tell anyway, there probably was some changes. Anyway, weighing 75 kilograms is a fun design, at least in my opinion, with the pickaxe, the 6 wheels, the plastic, wheelie bin armor. I quite like it personally. Then there's Technophobic with the rounded armor, looking kind of like an old Doctor Who prop, and with a 9-inch steel cutting blade, probably has one of the more powerful weapons of the Heat. Weighing in at 82.2 kilograms, I was definitely curious to see how it would do. Shumi then comes in, and is it just me, or would an undercutting disc just complete this look? But with mere static spikes, the robot definitely feels a little bit underwhelming, as fast as it is. Still, weighing 79.3 kilograms, the robot fit as much as it could in from the looks of things. Aurak is something that really defies explanation, to be quite honest. A 9-inch cutting disc that looks way too high to cut anything, though I think the arm can move. There's 2 bike wheels that drive the robot, and some static spikes on the other end. Aurak only weighs 55.3 kilograms, and looking at the armor, I can very well believe it. This is one of the strangest robots in Series 2, and that is saying a lot. The Contenders this Heat definitely feel far less impressive than in the last Heat, though maybe that isn't too fair considering, again, there were 2 future legends in Heat D. So, with an open mind, I prepared to watch their runs in the gauntlet. Kilotron is up first and comes out slowly but steadily up the ramp. It worked well for them last time after all. They end up stumbling off the ramp and get into an axe fight with Shunt. Unfortunately for Kilotron, it became a 2-on-1 fight as Dead Metal comes in, cutting right through the armor with no give whatsoever. Still, despite the damage taken, I loved watching Kilotron square up to the house robots, and with 10.3 meters, they were almost certain to make it to the next round. That's not a bad performance, all things considered. Shumi comes out next, racing out of the track, knocked off course as by the spikes. They get up the ramp, and right as it looks like they might destroy the gauntlet, they fall off the ramp and end up stuck. Yeah, not great. The house robots get stuck in, with Killer eventually plucking them up and flipping them completely over, ending their run in disappointment. 7.3 meters is a little more shaky, but assuming someone has a dud performance, I was definitely assuming that they could recover from this. Aurak comes out shakily, going up the ramp like someone who has had one too many pints. Yet Shunt apparently was also sloshed, as they just forgot to even get involved, meaning defying all expectations, Aurak made it to the end, guaranteeing their place in the next round. Technophobic's turn was up, and after a little issue with the spikes, they easily get past the ramp, where Dead Metal grabs them, but Dead Metal's disc isn't working, meaning that they can't do any damage to Technophobic. Shunt, however, does manage to rectify that, getting some nasty blows in, buckling some armor with some shots, and breaking through the armor with another. With that, Technophobic's run comes to an end, but with 11.3 meters, they are safe. Spin Doctor goes against the grain, taking the left path. until they stop, change their mind, and go down the right path, where they stop again. Getting beached on one of those ram rig moving platforms, Killalot ends up running them over. Soon Spin Doctor ends up getting free, but makes next to no progress, ending their run with just 3.8 meters. They definitely didn't have a great time. Finally, we're on to Pain, and I love how before they even got started, they showed this tiny little tooth mark on some steel from Pain's weapon. They looked so proud of what they'd done. To be fair, for Series 2, that's probably a fair bit of damage. Still, right as they're about to go, it turns out Pain has broken down. They try a last-second bodge to get the robot to participate in the gauntlet, but even on the second go, the robot is spinning in place but making no movement. Pain unfortunately has no third attempt, having to pull out as they are unable to repair the robot in time, meaning that they are eliminated, which is a shame, as I think the robot, as rough as it is, did have some charm, but we'll never really get to know because that's the end of Pain in this heat. Still, we move on to the next round, which is called King of the Castle, and it's sumo again? Basically, the competitor is in the middle with the house robots on either end, ready to invade and try to push them off the platform. The person who does the worst would be eliminated. Killatron is up first, where Shunt actually stumbles up the platform with Dead Metal getting involved. Eventually, Drunk Shunt does manage to get involved as well, and the fight starts proper, with Killatron swinging at Dead Metal, eventually embedding the axe in. Unable to push Killatron off the platform, Killatron survives, ensuring that they're going to make it to the fight rounds. Aurak's turn was up next, with Shunt and Matilda this time around, but Aurak didn't have to worry about Shunt, as Shunt took themselves out. I swear, Shunt needs a breathalyzer. This is embarrassing, but really funny. Aurak, meanwhile, gets tipped up by Matilda, who just toys with them for a while. Eventually, Matilda pushes them over the edge, but because they're stuck on the tusks, the timer doesn't end. Like, what's Aurak supposed to do? This isn't like Robot Arena 2, where they can drive up the wall with enough velocity that they can kind of spring themselves back onto the platform. They are done. Eventually, they manage to get them off the tusks, where they get a fairly impressive time of 28.95 seconds. Shumi's turn was up next as Shunt again got stuck, and Shumi rushed over to Shunt. Maybe thinking they'd be safer with the Drunk House robot, Matilda does close the distance, forcing Shumi off in just 9.4 seconds. What a disaster! It seems Shumi was just too fast for its own good. Like, in the fight rounds, I'm sure Shumi would have been brilliant, with that speed, but it really doesn't matter because in these first few rounds, they're in close quarters where they really can't afford to be that quick. And they pretty much guarantee that they are going to be eliminated unless someone suddenly spontaneously combusted. Spin Doctor starts off spinning in place, meaning that Matilda hesitates. Shunt, meanwhile, falls off the platform again. Did you expect anything different from Shunt at this point? My goodness, someone needs to take Shunt to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's just, I don't know what is going on there. Anyway, Matilda tries to tussle with Spin Doctor, but gets knocked away by the force, and eventually, one of Matilda's tusks gets broken off by Spin Doctor. Honestly, impressive work by Spin Doctor, who not only survives guaranteeing their place in the fight round, but manages to get one over on both house robots in this one. Technophobic is up last with Matilda and Shunt making their way over, and Technophobic actually goes for Matilda. Unfortunately for Technophobic, Shunt seems to sober up and actually manage to get involved, keeping Technophobic busy so that Matilda could lift them up, which then allowed Shunt to push them off the platform, though Shunt also ended up taking out Matilda with them in the process. Still, some great teamwork from the house robots, and Technophobic actually got a pretty good time in themselves, lasting 35.95 seconds, ensuring that they were going to make it to the next round, meaning that Shumi is eliminated. Honestly, I'm not too sad about it. As fast as Shumi is, I don't really know what they could have done in the fight rounds. Well, I guess we'll have to just speculate. It's time for the fight rounds! Honestly, this is probably the best set of robots of the heat for the fight rounds in my opinion, so I'm quite happy here. First up was Killertron versus Aurak. Both were a little unsteady starting off, with Killertron swinging and missing, and Aurak stopping. It seems that the chain for the drive ended up coming loose, so Aurak can't move anymore. Killertron takes advantage, embedding their axe in Aurak, with Aurak placed above the flame pit, where they smoke everywhere in the blaze. Their tires get absolutely cooked. With that, Aurak is done. The fight over. Honestly, somehow Aurak did even worse than I expected. Still, I felt Killertron did well and made a great, powerful performance, even if it wasn't fully intentional, with Killertron slightly malfunctioning, as they said, as they apparently wanted to pull Aurak off of the flame pits, but still, a pretty good performance nonetheless. Next up was Spin Doctor versus Technophobic, and Spin Doctor, seemingly realising they're far better off as a full-body spinner, have replaced the chainsaw with these flails as their main weapon, which, for the time, isn't too bad a strategy, considering robots like the South Bay Mauler. Still, Technophobic brushes the flails off. It just doesn't seem to be doing much of anything, but are themselves unable to do much against Spin Doctor with the first few rams. But it goes from bad to worse as Technophobic catches on fire and Spin Doctor randomly breaks down. The fight is ended there as they rushed with fire extinguishers to put out Technophobic. Apparently it was the lid to the petrol tank that caused the flames, so good god, I'm glad that they were able to put out the flames then. With that though, Spin Doctor is eliminated, meaning that Technophobic will make it to the next round. Honestly, it was such a hilariously pathetic fight that it winds back round to being entertaining again. I don't know what to say though, like, if you're looking for a good fight, maybe not the one to go for. Anyway, it's time for the heat final between Killertron and Technophobic. Slightly cautious in the beginning, Killertron ends up swinging first, but despite its aggression, it doesn't land its mark. They keep swinging, but they just cannot seem to hit Technophobic. Still, it doesn't seem to matter, as once they get the spikes on the end of the pickaxe into Technophobic, they push them right into the pit, meaning that Killertron wins. Honestly, I'm glad that happened, as the fight was looking like it would end up being rather unimpressive, as apparently Killertron wasn't even working properly, as there were some issues with the pickaxe, and it meant that there was a nice, emphatic way of ending this. Overall, an episode with a middling fight, but still some entertainment factor. The robots were definitely not on the same level as some of the ones we saw last heat. They still had enough energy though to get some fun blows in, such as Spin Doctor breaking Matilda's tusks, and Killertron just doing all of that, to be honest, like beating Aurak, beating Technophobic. It managed to take these fights, which generally were rather unimpressive, and still added a little bit of flair into them. That definitely made them the MVP of the episode, next to Drunk Shunt, who was so bad, it was honestly hilarious. They just couldn't seem to do much of anything right. Overall, if you're looking for an episode with the best fights that the series has to offer, then this won't be for you. You might as well skip this episode. But if you want a ragtag bunch of robots of varying quality that put on surprisingly fun performances, then I'd definitely check this one out. It's funny, it's honestly, quite endearing seeing all these crazy wild robots. I had fun watching it, but your mileage may vary. Now, if you want to check it out, I can't speak for unofficial ways, but the official way would be checking out Mech Plus. Unfortunately, in an update, Mech Plus has actually made it so you have to pay if you want to watch now. So, if you want to watch, it's, last I checked, it is going to be £20 a year, which honestly is rather small for a streaming service, so I don't think it's too bad, but, of course, maybe not for everyone, but I'd personally recommend it because not only do you get Series 2 Robot Wars, you get every single series, mainline series of Robot Wars, you get the Extreme series, they're adding the foreign series of Robot Wars in, you get, I think Techno Games is on here, King of Bots is on here. Honestly, it's a really good streaming service if you like your robot combat. Honestly, if they added BattleBots onto that, they don't have BattleBots, but if they did, that'd be like the perfect streaming service. Anyway, let's not get ahead of ourselves there. That would probably take a lot of negotiations. But still, it's a lot of fun, and I definitely think it's worth the money. So if you want to check this out for yourself, I definitely recommend checking out Mech Plus. Anyway, I hope to see you all next time. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to leave a like on this video, Comment down below what you thought of this heat if you checked it out yourself. And I hope to see you all next time. If you become a member, by the way, you'll get access to custom emotes and members-only videos. With that all being said, I hope to see you all next time. Bye, guys!